Call the meeting to order. Public comment on anything on the closed session? Nothing? Okay, so then we will now go into closed session. Mr. Euchre's gone, so I'll be running the meeting tonight. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Council, do you have any comments from closed session, please?
Council and public. Council did meet in closed session this evening, beginning at 5 p.m. to receive an update in litigation involving JKB Development versus City of Ripon, as well as update and guidance to negotiators in real property negotiations that are pending on parcels within the city. Apart from those developments, no other reportable action was taken.
Thank you. Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then stay standing for the invocation. Gary, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we come to you with an openness and a desire for your presence here. We take the time to recognize you, a power that is greater than us and who lives in us, and so we petition your help. This is a place where we exercise power, and we can see even in our current events how power is something that can be abused and used for the harm of others. So we take this seriously, and we come to you for your help. We petition your wisdom. Help us to be people who are patient, who listen, and to distribute power in a way that is just to other people in this place here, in this community, in our lives. We want to be a reflection of you and the way power is dealt. And so we pray for your help in that. In your name, amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gary Barton.
Present.
Daniel DeGraff. Here. Leo Zuber.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mike Rosusha.
Present.
Mayor Dean Euchre is absent.
Okay. Public discussion. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda? It's not on the agenda? Okay, if it's not on the agenda, please come up, state your name and address, and
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor. My name is Di Charisma, and my husband Daryl and I reside at 1845 Riverview Circle here in Ripon. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak for 3 minutes. I just give you a brief background. I grew up playing sports all my life, and now I am a tennis fanatic. And I've been meeting with Mr. Kai Stevens and Mr. Kenny Zeidevart in respect to constructing new tennis courts here in the city of Ripon. And I just wanted to share with you the progress to date so that the city council is just aware of what we're working on. There's nothing to vote upon, that's why it's not an official agenda item. So I just wanted to give you an update as to how we've progressed to date. I started meeting with Mr. Kai Stevens last year in respect to constructing possibly new courts where our existing community courts are, but we're just landlocked over there because of the baseball fields and small parking. And so I rallied up tennis lovers here in Ripon, and we proposed to add to the beautiful premier Mitzlin Sports Park, which has an amazing soccer field, softball fields, baseball fields, batting cages, indoor volleyball, but it's missing tennis. So I established a nonprofit 501c3 foundation. It's called Love Ripon Tennis Foundation, because when you start the game of tennis, you always say, love first. So we submitted that name with 2 others to the state, and they approved our name, so we're official Love Ripon Tennis Foundation. I have some documents copies I wanted to give to the council members, just FYI. I have formed a board, and the 2 requirements to be on my board are you must live in Ripon and you must love tennis. Now that doesn't mean you have to be a superstar at tennis, but you must love it. either enjoy watching it or just have a love for the game. And I could tell you this, you could play tennis when you start walking. As soon as you walk, you could play tennis, and you could literally play tennis until you die, because I experienced that with older gentlemen in Las Vegas. So you can die on the court, which is okay, because you can look good in a cute outfit. Irregardless, I have a list of the members. We have 7 directors on our board. Also, here in this packet, I have a general site plan, just a rough idea as to what we're looking at. Nothing has been, of course, officially approved, but between Mr. Kai Stevens and Mr. Kenny Zeidevart, we've been tossing around possible locations for tennis courts. Now, you must understand we only have 4 courts here in Ripon. They're very, very, very old, and Kai does the best job he can do to bandage them up, but the cracks don't ever really go away. Just last week, ball came over, hit the crack, went that way, and I missed the ball, so a little upset about that. And then in between the courts, there's kind of soft potholes there too, due to the fact that there's a lot of trucks that drive back and forth across those tennis courts. Irregardless, both Kenny and Kai agreed that the Midland Sports Park would be a great location to add tennis courts. Our goal is to have minimum 6 courts. I just consulted with the USTA today, and they would propose that we try to shoot for 12 and maybe even a Kenny's Clubhouse. So I'm going to leave with you a site plan as to what we're looking at, and also I've recruited an attorney for free, an engineer for free. Oh, sorry, that's 3 minutes. And also some construction individuals at no cost, because we have no money, but we are going to be focusing on raising money. So again, just a little FYI, and if I could leave these documents for the council members, and if anybody has any quick questions, because I know my 3 minutes are
That's
up.
great, thank you. You can give those to Jane, and she can get those to us,
Okay,
please?
great, thanks. Thank you. Any
Thank
questions?
you. Whoops, Maya, yeah. Any questions? Thank you.
Sure, and shall I leave 5, 6, 7, 8 copies?
Leave all you have.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
I hurt my knees one time playing tennis. Thank you very much. No, I appreciate that, thank you. Anybody else have anything that's not on the agenda? If it's on the agenda, we'll get to it then. Nope, okay. Approval of the minutes for February 8th and the special meeting of February 10th.
Is our thing working?
Let me see.
My vote?
Yes.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, passes 5-0. Okay. Pardon me? Oh, excuse me, 4-0. My thing is blocking the, there we go. Okay, do we have approval of the agenda as posted or amended?
I have 2 items I'd like to pull,
Okay.
Mr. Vice Mayor. Item number 1.2J and item number 1.3B.
Anybody else? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be
Yeah.
asking the 1.4D to be pulled from the agenda, only so I can abstain and step off the dais for that matter.
Okay, 1.4D,
Yes, Pilot Travel Centers is a client of mine from long back.
okay.
Thank you.
On,
Yeah, the
I'm
general
sorry, on
fund.
1.2J?
1.3B.
Okay.
One point two J and then
I'm
1.3.
pulling the change order, so if I
Yeah.
got the wrong number. Okay. Thank you for that correction, 1.4E.
So 1.4E, so we have 1.2J, 1.4D, and 1.4E?
No, 1.2J stays on the
Right,
consent calendar.
right. 1.4D and 1.4E, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're just pulling 2 items? 3 items.
3, 1.2J, 1.4D, and 1.4E. So with those items pulled, do we have an approval of the agenda as amended?
May I clarify, Mr. Vice Mayor? It's 1.3B, 1.4E, and 1.4D.
Yes, yes.
Boy, now I'm confused.
With the numbers that Lisa said, I'll make a motion to approve the
Thank
consent
you.
calendar as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Let me get this up here.
It's my fault.
Can you do that again, Dan, please? Gary? Okay. Passes 4-0. 1.2J,
That one's.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as agenda, as amended.
Second.
passes 4-0. Okay, now I'm really confused. What's the next item? 1.3B. Well, my goodness gracious, nobody else knows what's going on either. Okay,
All right.
1.3B.
So, Mr. Vice Mayor, I asked to pull this item. This is the resolution regarding the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. We got a staff report that was largely written by the representative from the California League of Cities, recommending opposition to this proposed act. And I just didn't feel I had enough background information to fully understand the pros and cons. I went to the State of California website, read the legislative analyst's overview of this. Then I went to the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Organization and read their analysis of it. Had conversation with Kevin Werner. Kevin set up a phone call with a representative from the California League of Cities, Nick Romo. Had a good conversation with him. He gave I think a fair breakdown of their opposition to this. But in my opinion, the council could benefit from a more robust assessment of the pros and cons of this, and I would propose continuing this to next month's meeting, giving us time to do a little more homework and also perhaps the opportunity to hear from a person with California League of Cities, and I spoke with the Howard Jarvis folks today as well, and they, I believe, can send a person to our meeting next month as well. So I'd like to continue this item to next month.
Anybody object to that? Okay. I'm glad you pulled that because I had similar questions. Okay, now we go to 1.4D.
D usually comes before you.
D. You always do. Okay, 1.4D. Tom needed to step out, so do we have a?
I'll make a motion to approve this item.
Okay,
I'll second.
you need to click the second.
Thank you.
Okay, passes 4-0. 1.4E.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. So I asked to pull this item. We've had, the city's experienced multiple change orders on the Stockton Avenue project as a result of lots of discoveries under the pavement. And so, yeah, I'll ask the city administrator, Mr. Werner, if he could provide some detail on that, where we are relative to budget, and maybe a sense of when that project might be wrapping up.
I'd be happy to do that. The original bid amount was $4.75 million approximately. And then the change orders that we've experienced with the project is about $560,000, about 11 or 12% of the original contract price. That is higher than what we normally like to see with these projects, but not unusual for a project like Stockton Avenue. I know when the design team went out and began the process, there was a lot of work done to identify what utilities were underground. We had sent the design drawings to PG&E to try to get all of their record drawings incorporated into the design and understand what their requirements are going to be throughout construction. But as construction proceeded and they were opening up the trenches, they found and discovered different utilities than what we had anticipated, resulting in a lot of the change orders that you see now. One thing I would add to that is so far a lot of these change orders are related to the underground work, and those are being funded through the enterprise capital funds. But the good news in all this, we were able to go out and get all of the street and road portion of this funded through grant projects. So no city street and road money has gone to this project as of this point, and we still have about $180,000 of Measure K grant money available for future change orders. So the project is transitioning right now from underground work to the surface work. They're installing curb and gutter right now and sidewalks. So that's the good news, is we're pretty much through the underground portion of that. And I know Sarah, she's back now, so great to have her back. We missed her during the underground work though, but glad you're here now.
Great timing.
Yeah, she timed it just right. But she's gonna talk about it during reports, but we're anticipating the project to be complete this summer sometime, likely June or July of 2022.
Good, thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
I've got a question on the change order. I mean, some of these, okay, you're finding underground utilities that you didn't know were there, that's fine. The potholing related to PG&E's standards, I mean, should they not have known about that beforehand, or is it something that they later said, oh, well, this is news to us? I mean, if they didn't know about that and should have known about it, why should we pay for it, I guess is my question.
Yeah, you know, PG&E has so many different people you deal with throughout that project. It was actually the inspectors that were required to be out there that notified us of that requirement. The individuals, when we were coordinating the plans with, never told us that requirement. Unfortunately, you know, at that point in the project, it just got very difficult to try to work with PG&E on responsibility and financial responsibility. And if we would have known about it in a way, we would have put it in the contract if we were told it ahead of time.
So we'd have been paying for it one way or the other.
Right. It's just unfortunately this way we pay through a change order. And
Well, it seems to me a lot of these projects that we end up coming across, there's such old things, that there's no plans in the city of pipes below ground and all that, that's what you come across.
Yeah, let's
you know?
make sure there's good as-bills of this project when it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
yes,
None of us will be around the next time they reconstruct it anyway.
Well, valid point, but we'll do better for the next group.
somebody will appreciate it.
Yes.
All I'm happy about is that if we end up taking a golf cart again to our Christmas party, we'll have a nice, smooth ride back.
Yes.
Okay, so do we have an approval of that
I'll
item?
move to approve item 1.4E.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. I'll second it if we need a second.
Okay, passes 4.0. Now we move on to public hearing. Community Development Block Grant and Home Programs. I'll turn it over to staff first, then I'll turn it over to council, then we'll have the public hearing, and then back to council and. we'll go
Thank
from
you, Mr. Vice Mayor, fellow council members. This is our annual time of year that we go through our public hearing to allocate our yearly allocation of CDBG and home program funds. Again, this year, we are suggesting that we allocate the majority of the CDBG funds to the Senior Center retrofit project. That is kind of winding down to where we're going to be getting that out to bid soon. So we're looking to park the funds on that project. If the project doesn't end up taking all the funds that we have kind of saved up for that, then we'll come back in front of council at a future point and allocate it to another project that council would want to work on. But that's the recommendation this year. There is a couple public service applications that were received. Every year, we typically receive one from Bethany Home for their Meals on Wheels program that we fund, and then there is some through the county that do provide services here in Ripon that have asked for funding as well. So we recommended funding most of those, and it's kind of broken down in the staff report. The very back page is a spreadsheet there showing where the funds, the requested funds, and then what we're allocating. The home funds that we get every year, we've been parking those in a down payment assistance program that eligible income families can go to the county and receive down payment assistance for homes. Quite honestly, haven't seen a lot of people doing that here in Ripon. They just, down payment funds that they can receive doesn't really even qualify them for some homes in Ripon. So we are working with staff at the county to try to figure out different uses for those funds. We might be able to go out and do some affordable housing projects or rehabs versus just down payment assistance. So we'll be bringing that back in front of the council at some future point as well, to maybe move those home funds to a different allocation pot with the county, and then maybe see some activity here in town for affordable housing. So everything else is kind of listed in the staff report. Hopefully you had a chance to review that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Gary? No questions? Okay, I'll open up the public hearing. Would the person in the audience like to say anything about this?
Come on, Kelly.
Okay, seeing nobody, going once, going twice? Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing and turn it back over to council.
We didn't get anything remote either?
Nope.
Okay.
So we need a motion to approve the program here? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, passes 4-0. Ordinances, second reading and adoption. This ordinance amends Chapter 8.12 Garbage Collection Disposal of the Ripon Municipal Code in order to include the new state mandate of California organic waste diversion regulations.
So what am I doing? Moving to waive the second reading and adopt? So moved.
Is there a second?
I guess.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll let Gary.
Okay. Remember, this is all BS because of Sacramento.
Oh, it is.
Because of Sacramento, okay? Or is that BOS? Okay, discussion items, water meter endpoint telemetry purchase. Assuming that's James.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, Honorable City Council. I don't have a whole lot more to add to the staff report on this item. Basically, this 3G cellular network is being phased out, and we're being forced into upgrading our telemetry endpoint devices for our water meters. The ones that we did purchase back in 2014 and 15 just don't have the technology to be able to keep running on the new networks. You know, it's a little earlier than we originally planned. The first endpoints had a 10-year battery life, a 5-year full warranty, and a 5-year prorated warranty. Badger has been kind enough to give us a pretty substantial cost reduction on the price of these. We would have been in this position in 10 years no matter what. The batteries just don't last that much longer than 10 years. And they gave us a 50% reduction on the cost. These new units will be a 20-year battery life. There's a 10-year full warranty, a 10-year prorated warranty. Really, I just wanted to kind of, bring this to the council's attention, the public's attention. There will be no interruption of service for customers, and I'll leave it up to the council, or open it up to the council for any questions that you guys may have on this item.
Are we doing the installation?
Yeah, so that's something that we talked about on the staff level. So Badger's dealing with this all up and down the state. So there's plenty of cities up and down the state that they're going to have to get these endpoints out to, and they're kind of scrambling to do so here in 2022. So they're going to be giving us portions of deliveries throughout the year as they get them in. And so what we're going to do as a staff is to begin installing with our own folks and kind of see how that goes. If we feel that we need to shift and get a contractor on board, we can do that, but we're gonna first start off trying by doing it ourselves.
Do we still have people paying off their meter, or is that all done?
The surcharge?
From the,
Yes,
you could either pay cash or you could pay for it over 10, do we still have people paying?
yes, I think we have 4 more years in it.
Okay.
So how do you not disrupt the service? You don't have to do anything with the water itself?
No, it's really just a plug-in unit. So
Oh,
we're,
really?
we're unplugging the existing unit.
Yeah.
It's a separate, endpoint device, I guess.
It goes in the box?
It goes in the box, yeah. Uh-huh. And it just transmits a cellular signal.
Yeah.
You never looked in your box? When you tried to bypass your meter, you mean?
Why would I ever look in my box? I don't even mow my lawn, why would I look in my box? Any other questions, Gary? Do you have a question?
Yeah, James, so these will be, I assume, 5G compatible, is that right?
Yeah.
But we're 4G now, so they'll be able to handle 4G until this network switches to 5G, if I've got that right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. It's 4G, 5G compatible. The one thing that Badger did to kind of eliminate this problem from happening again, or at least give us some assurances that, you know, if this was to happen again with these specific endpoints, if they go to 6G and these are not compatible, they've got that clause in there to you know, honor the warranties, the existing warranties that they have, or the warranties they'll be putting in place with these new units, so,
Yeah, who knows what'll happen in 20 years?
yeah, or 5.
Yeah, you will be, we'll be rolling you up here.
Yeah. See what you did?
Okay, so you need action on this.
So, just to approve the purchase agreement with Badger Meter.
So I'll move to.
Well, let's,
Oh,
you need to give me the vote. Somebody needs a,
Nope, you can't vote on it, sorry.
Nope, can't do it.
okay, now you can.
all right, I'll move to approve the purchase of the new Badger meters.
I'll second that.
Okay, passes 4-0. Well, that was quick. Reports. Let's start out with the chief.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, Honorable City Council, member of the public. I just have one item to brief the council on. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., we'll be swearing in our new dispatcher, Elizabeth Medina. She will be dispatcher number 8, and so we're still pressing forward with hiring the remaining dispatchers that we need to fulfill the Lathrop contract. So it'll be a small ceremony in our dispatch center if anybody's wanting to attend.
What time is it again?
2 p.m.
So how many do you need total?
12.
12.
We had Elizabeth will be starting tomorrow. We did a conditional job offer for another dispatcher position this morning, and the person accepted. And we have another dispatcher applicant in background right now.
Nice.
And then we have approximately 33 applicants awaiting our next testing cycle.
Wow.
Is it gonna be in the EOC? Or
It'll be in the dispatch center.
dispatch, okay.
Chief Ramondi, can you give us an update on, and I'm not sure the exact title, but it's your tech position, the head of tech for the department?
Yeah, currently our IT manager or supervisor position is vacant. We've actually made some modifications to our IT assistant, Hunter Crosby, and he'll be working as a internet services technician on a part-time basis until we reevaluate that position with the job duties and possibly a change in the title. So we're not planning on moving forward with fulfilling that position and for the next few months.
Thank you.
Okay. Kai.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of the council. Just a couple quick items. In March of 2021, you guys voted on an MOU with the school district and wanted us to report back a year from that. So now I'm reporting back on that. Everything has gone smoothly. They do continue to use this facility for various meetings. They use Stouffer Park for cross-country practice, for soccer, and for some other uses. They're currently using fields at the community center. They use Field 1 for their JV softball. And so everything's going good. Both sides give the other plenty of notice on any type of facility use, so there are no conflicts, or there haven't been, and if there is any, we work that out. So it seems to be going well, so I would not recommend any changes at this time, just leave the MOU in place. And then the other thing I wanted to report out on is we are, with the latest COVID numbers and lifting of the mask, we're going full force back to normal. And so compiled a list of our programs that we're bringing back, and a list of our core programs in 2019 before COVID to the current state we're in right now. And we have seen an increase in all, excuse me, in all of our major programs. We just finished our basketball. That just had a 1% increase from 2019. Obviously, 2020, we canceled everything. So we went from 188 players to 190 players. Flag football's going on right now. In 2019, before COVID, we had 193 players. This year, we're clocking in at 224, which is 13.8%, almost 14% increase in numbers. Our soccer, which is our biggest overall participation sport in town, 2019 we had 774 participants, and this last year for soccer we had 835, which was 7.3% increase. Baseball registration now is complete, although we are getting some stragglers and some late folks wanting in, but in 2019 we had 482 players, and we're up to 533, which is a 9.6% increase. So that shows positive signs for Parks and Rec coming back to life, and just wanted to let you guys know that we will be offering our full slate of summer programs moving forward. If you have any questions, please let me
Well, I was
know.
gonna say, that shows on the financial statements we just got from Lisa, the revenue increases.
We should be bringing back, yeah.
Yeah, it's above,
Yeah, and
looks good.
volleyball's going, baseball with our leases and all that, it's looking good out there.
Kai, do you think some of the increases are due to maybe other cities or other programs that aren't running or
Yeah.
aren't at the same capacity? Maybe we're getting people that might go back to other programs next year?
So there is some of that. We're one of the few cities that actually runs a majority of our own programs. A lot of other cities offer it, but they offer it through nonprofits, which we have as well. Ripon Chiefs, Ripon Knights, Ripon Little League. Those are all nonprofits. The swim programs run by a nonprofit. But we do have some really nice facilities, and I think we're drawing in as a result of that. And it does kind of ebb and flow, but all the news I'm getting and the word is coming off of COVID, they really like our programs and they've kind of rethought. So I think it's here to stay, but you know, that could change.
Once you go Ripon, you don't go back.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't either, but, you know, I was just wondering if, you know, maybe because some other programs
That's a
aren't
good
opening
question.
up as fast,
Yeah.
that they might be coming here for this season and might think about going back some in the future, but,
Good question.
That's a great report, Kai.
Yeah.
Appreciate the
Yeah.
info.
yeah, we'll find out.
Well, that's the best news we've had in a long time, but yeah. Ken?
Yeah, just a couple items for you, for the council. Just an update on Diamond Pet Food, just to give you guys an idea. You know, last year, they did get final approval for their expansion of the fourth line. We went through a process, obviously EIR process that the council was abreast of. They did put new odor abatement equipment in, started running that, got the fourth line approval, started running that. Part of their environmental impact mitigation measures was to give us monthly reports, so we can ensure that the odor abatement equipment is still operating at kind of pristine levels that we were seeing when they first put it in. You could see kind of over the months, they've gotten pretty good at running their odor abatement equipment. We've got quite a few months over the last year now where we've got 0 complaints. And the ones that we have received, or the ones that the Air District does receive, have been unconfirmed. That doesn't mean a whole lot in the sense that the Air District will send somebody out if they have somebody available. So somebody might complain of an odor, like the one in September of '21, there was an odor complaint, one complaint. They might not have been able to get a tech out to confirm that, so they put that down as unconfirmed. But you can see they are running at a high level of odor abatement, and I think hopefully complaints have gone down and council hasn't heard any more complaints. This is a monthly report we get from Diamond. It'll continue, so we can update council kind of on a yearly basis. If we start seeing an uptick in that, we can deal with Diamond in that regard. Second item, this is actually a plug for the chamber. You should have seen an invitation. So Thursday at 4 p.m., the RV dealership is doing a groundbreaking. So that is a very big project here for the city, a good project coming in. So everybody's invited to that. Hopefully you can make it out and see that project. 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock.
Where are they meeting at?
Wherever, I don't know.
It's 9 acres.
Somewhere
I
on
mean,
site, somewhere in that 9 acres.
Behind Alpine, okay.
All the hard hats are sitting.
Where
I
the
don't know.
golden shovel is.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring my own golden shovel.
You're gonna have to park on the dirt because that Alpine is packed all the time.
It's all
There's
right.
actually a lot
Plenty
of
dirt
parking.
out there.
Well,
at
you
9
got a
acres.
big old truck.
I'm just gonna drive from the corner where, you know, the wind machine is at, and I'm just gonna drive straight across the field until I find it.
Make sure you go,
Because we don't want you to hit
Oh,
it.
I'm gonna make dust too.
make sure you go through the construction entrance on the way out. We don't want any dirt off
Oh, yeah,
site.
we'll make sure there's no tracking back on the road, of course. Yeah. Got it.
Ken, I'm disappointed you described all my calls to you as unconfirmed reports on this, but actually, I do want to comment. There has been occasional odor from that plant during the course of 2021. That said, it's good to be reminded of this because I personally have not smelled anything for several months now. I don't think this year, for instance, I've smelled anything, so.
And
So
I've
hopefully there-
noticed, I mean, I think what I see, 'cause we live right next to each other, so you get the same smell, but, I've noticed like you'll get the faint scent of something, and I think it's generally the sewer ponds too. You get the kind of, it's like a little, what was a sweet, almost, I don't know if anybody's ever has crawdads before in a, trough, but crawdads get this kind of sweet smell that, smells a lot like the sewer ponds do, and I get that, and it's like, I think people often confuse that with the dog food plant. It all kind of comes at the same time. Sometimes, you know, when you used to smell dog food, you'd smell that too. You'd usually get that first. So I think sometimes we get that, and people confuse it with the dog food plant, but.
Only once.
The reason being unconfirmed.
Yes, they're doing a good job.
That's good. It's good to hear. If you've never gone through a tour of the plant, it's amazing to go through there. Truly awesome. Okay, James.
Yeah, real quick, Hunter, if you got that graph here. Actually, you can go to the second one there. So last year, I brought this up to the council, and it's basically an overview of our average depth of our groundwater through the wells that we have, our potable wells. This graph is kind of 2 graphs merged together. This is NOAA's Drought Graph that they've got on the bottom there. And you could see that in, this is basically from 2007 to 2022. You can see that from 2007 to 2015, we dropped from about 31 feet down to 38 feet on the average. Since that time, 2015, it stayed pretty stable for the next 5 years, kind of up and down just a bit. But over this last year, we did see a decrease of about 3 feet from 2021 to the averages that we were seeing in 2019. So I just wanted to give kind of council an update of where we're at. So we're sitting right about now at 41 feet with our static water level in our wells. And then just to add on to that, our February usage, it was actually identical to our 2013 numbers. We do see that in the winter. It kind of depends. If you get some dry winter months, the overall numbers are pretty low. And so it was identical, though, to that 2013 number. You really see the differences in the summer months. But our rolling 12-month average is down about 16%, or from our 2013 numbers. We did just move over to 3 days a week on our watering schedule. We are going to be adding extra patrol. That started March 1st. We are going to be adding some extra patrol over the next couple weeks just to hopefully get everyone on board heading into the summer months. So that's all I had.
Yeah, we just gotta keep reminding people.
So if I look at this, that blue line at the top, the average depth of our wells is 12 feet lower than it was in 2007.
It's 10 feet. Am I?
Yeah, it's
Well, 10 or 11.
10, 11 feet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
down
yeah,
10
10,
feet
yes.
though. We have
Correct.
10 feet less water than we had. Okay.
Correct.
Because first thing I was looking at is the thing was going higher, so I was assuming the water was going up.
Look good, huh?
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
It's going down.
I looked at that, and maybe next year I can do a kind of a decreasing graph there, but
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, it's 10, 11 feet there over, the past 14 years. So
Because I think that's one of the messages that needs to get out to people. The idea that you use water in the summer and then it comes back in the winter, it's not happening anymore.
Well, you're right, and it's interesting because 2015 we had that extreme drought, right? 15, 16 in that range, and then we had some pretty wet years, but that groundwater stayed pretty stable. And then now we're looking at last year what we just got, which was more of an extreme drought, and we're looking like that's going to be the norm heading through this year. And it didn't take much, and it dipped down last year another 3 feet. So you're right.
Yeah, well, the graph trend line's up. Right. Which means it's down.
It's down, yeah.
James, do you know what the typical drawdown is on your wells and where those wells are set, what depth? So in other words, what's your pumping water level and where are your wells set?
Yeah, we have all that data for each individual well, and depending on when that well was constructed, it varies considerably. Some of our older wells are a lot shallower, but we have all that data. I don't have it on here.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, in reviewing that, if you're anticipating you're going to have to extend your column down to drop some of those pumps.
Yeah, no, we're certainly looking at that, and because our drawdown number, that water level is also down, like this. So.
Okay. Anything else? Sarah, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
My update will be short since I've only been back for a week. Stockton Avenue, like Kevin said, we're on to surface improvements now, curb and gutter. We will be starting sidewalk very soon. So once all of that is in, we will start grading the roadway, which will happen probably mid to late March. And then after that, we'll start the pavers, and hopefully it's smooth sailing after that. And then well 19, majority of the underground work has been completed. We're kind of in a standstill right now, waiting for materials to come in. And yeah, that'll keep moving, and anticipated construction should be done this summer for that.
What's that building out there for? I had a lot of people asking me if we were finally putting permanent bathrooms out there.
Yeah, it looks
for
like
Advent
bathrooms,
Festival.
right?
That's upstairs as well.
Huh?
Building.
Is it?
Yeah, some pouring in there.
Couldn't believe how many people were asking that.
Electrical equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, with the two doors on there, it looks like you've got
Men and women.
men and women's bathroom there, but yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case.
Are you the one that put up those fake signs, men and women? Did you do that?
Me?
No,
Oh,
Dan.
might have been
No,
him.
why?
Where's the
Because I
signs?
saw them out there, and you're the one that just mentioned it, so you must have been the one that put those stickers out.
I'll take credit for it, I guess. No, it wasn't me.
Is that it? Tom? Sorry.
Yeah, I have no report.
No report? Kevin?
I just had a quick update on the budget. I think, obviously you see some of the numbers coming through in Luke's report. So just wanted to go through a couple slides real quick. And Hunter, if you could go to the next slide. Yeah, perfect. So this compares the general fund, the balance, which is the blue line. The solid blue line is the general fund balance for fiscal year 2021. And then the blue dash line is what we're currently experiencing this fiscal year. So as you can see, in February, we're about $980,000 ahead of where we were last fiscal year. Obviously, last fiscal year was very different because of COVID. We already talked about Parks and Rec and the additional revenue, or the normal revenue that we're getting now this year that we were not getting last year. And then also, sales tax was a little different. I have another slide that will show it, but we weren't really getting, just one more, a little bit on the other slide, Hunter. Go, yeah. One of the things that we weren't getting, sales tax revenue early on in the year were fairly low, and then towards the end of the year, it increased. I have a slide that will show that here in a little bit. The other thing that's happened this fiscal year, we're getting about, if you recall, we refunded our redevelopment bonds.
Yep.
That is bringing in about $160,000 this year that we didn't see last year. And we are going to, as part of our budget process, we're going to talk to the council about some options with that essentially one-time money. We're going to get that over, about $800,000, $900,000 over the next 5 years, but then you're no longer going to see that savings. So some possibilities with that one-time money. General fund revenue is about 8% higher than what I had budgeted for 21-22, and then expenses are about 1.3% below from what I budgeted. So fairly close on track from a budgeting standpoint. Obviously, compared to last year, much better. Next slide, please. So before I get into some of the details with the sales tax revenue, this is just revenue that we received, prior to the recession, or right at the recession in fiscal year 08-09 to current. You can see we recovered nicely in the last 5 years. We've had pretty stable revenue of $3.5 million, and then the prior 5 years to that, again, fairly stable revenue of $2.2 to $2.7 million. And really the increase that we're seeing, part of it is really the focus of economic development and bringing in commercial businesses like Bow Country was a very nice addition to a sales tax generator in the city of Ripon. So those programs are working, and you start seeing that in these numbers. Next slide, please. So this is, if you recall, a little bit more detail of comparing last fiscal year sales tax revenue and this fiscal year. Last year is shown in the blue line. This year is shown in the red lines. And just a reminder, we do get sales tax revenue every month, like you see on the agenda. But for all of the months except for August, November, February, and May, they're based off a calculation of previous year's sales tax. But they true it up, and they give us revenue based off actual sales for certain periods of time. So in August, when we get that revenue, it's based off a true up of April through June, and then in November it's through July, September, like was shown on the figure there. And then the green line is the sales tax revenue that we received throughout the year, the balance of that for 2021, and we ended up, like I said earlier, $3.3 million. And then this year is that, I don't know if it's purple or blue
Purple.
line, we're already pretty close to $3 million. And like you can see, we still have a true up coming in May. So a couple things that have happened, I mentioned earlier, you can see on the blue lines from last fiscal year, a lot of our revenue we weren't getting a lot of revenue throughout the year until that final true-up in May. And then we got a large payment at that time that really brought us over the edge with our sales tax revenue balance. This year, obviously, revenue has largely been restored, and we're getting those balances much earlier in the year. And then obviously, gas. Gas is very different right now. So typically, we have been getting about 45% of our sales tax revenue from the sale of fuel. And that's also something that is changing right now in these true-up payments from last fiscal year. If you go to the next slide, please. So this slide shows gas price, and I use a website that I found that tracks gas prices throughout California, and they average all of California and all grades of fuel, but it gives an indication of what's happening with price. And this goes from January 2020 to March 6, 2022 on the far right. And then the table I have on here is the actual comparisons of the true-up quarters that we talked about. And you can see the price of gas has gone up about 45% from this year of 2021 compared to 2020. So for us, obviously, we're not planning on that being a recurring revenue source and hopefully not continuing going forward. But it does generate a lot more revenue from the city, which we're seeing in the bottom line with the general fund and with Lisa's treasurer's reports. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Biden.
Well, take a look at the chart, see when it starts going
Yeah,
sky high.
It's pretty funny.
Well, the
when
other
when
thing
it
is
actually
too,
started.
is that, are they pumping as much gas? Because that, if it's supply and demand, the demand goes down and you kind of end in the same place. Do we know what the gallonages have been?
At some point, it's gotta start
Yeah.
changing.
I told Mona she had to start getting a bike and riding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is,
And that conversation did not go well.
most people that are driving, I mean, what are you gonna, you're gonna not go to work? You have to buy the gas pretty much, or,
Well, it's not going to work, it's people aren't taking extra trips that maybe are kind of,
I think most people still do most of what they're doing. They just say, I mean, there might be a handful of people that can't or whatever. I think largely though, most people that are doing it still do it either way.
You won't see much of an impact until May, June, July,
Correct.
August, because then trips won't have,
Well,
going to
that's
work
what
and
I'm
that's all
saying,
doing.
exactly.
I'm not going on vacation this year.
Yeah.
Well, gas alone apparently is pre-tax or post-tax is gonna cost the average person $250 more a month. Well, for us, maybe it doesn't matter, but how about the person that's got 2 kids, 3 kids, working very hard, and they're not driving the average $250 more per month, it's $300-400 a month. Some people are, it's tough.
And this is from March 6th. Obviously, it's gone up
It's gone up even
even
more
more
since then.
since then.
It's gone up since I bought gas the day before yesterday.
Yeah, like 20 cents a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Who did you thank for that?
Uncle Joe Biden?
Oh, it's that. Just wanted to clarify that.
So just an update, obviously, we're gonna talk a lot more about this as we begin the budget process, but just because it's such a change in the general fund and an increase in revenue from what we saw last year, so I'm gonna update the council. on the
Save
public.
it, because we may need it.
Yes.
No kidding.
That's all I have.
Mr. Dan?
Mr. Me,
Thank
not
you.
a whole lot to report on. Yeah, we had this thing called the Almond Blossom Festival, Parade, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, Kelly, you know anything about that? Huge success. Good job, Chamber. Congrats. Thank you.
Yep.
Pretty fantastic. Perfect weather. Great weekend.
Yep.
Couldn't have timed it any better, So, yeah, other than that, thank you to the member of the public, again, who's here. Those who were here earlier, thank you as well for attending. Other than that, nothing much. Good to go.
Okay, Mr. Zuber?
Well, I wanted to recognize the chamber also. I got some numbers because we had a board meeting this morning, and if you were there, you knew it was good. There were 10,000 cars in that parking lot from Thursday evening until Sunday afternoon. The carnival, we sold $50,000 worth of advance tickets, the carnival took in another $190,000
Jimmies.
over the 4 days. There were 83 entries in the parade. And we netted, the chamber netted, I think, $70,000 more this year off of Ammon Festival than we did in 2020.
Wow.
So
Which was pretty
this
tough.
young lady and the other two ladies that work in the office really are responsible for all that. They work hours and hours to make that happen, and it worked out very well. Thank you.
Numbers wise, it's gotta have been either the biggest or close to the biggest.
Yeah,
one
we
ever.
don't,
I would think
we don't
so.
have a way to count people,
Yeah.
but,
But still,
this year we took in $50,000 for parking. The best we've ever done before was 32.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it's a 50% increase.
yeah.
And probably charging the same amount.
Yeah.
Right, $5
Yeah.
for parking or whatever, so.
Well, I know it was packed. I went out to the Muslim, and it was packed. Couldn't even hardly walk
Every day.
around.
Yeah,
No, it's good, people are excited to do things,
Yeah.
so.
so thank you. Huh?
Me too. No, it's
Congratulations.
interesting, So, thanks. Yeah.
Nice job. Anything else, Lou?
No, that's it.
Gary?
So at the risk of being redundant, I will be redundant. It was just a really enjoyable Almond Blossom weekend. All the events leading up to it, exceptionally well done. The parade on Saturday was, I don't know how to compare it to other years, but boy, that street was packed the entire way. One is reminded of why Ripon is so special. There's just so many expressions of goodwill, even to the very, yes, exactly.
He was being cautious with his words.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman DeGraff. As has been expressed, went out to the carnival, and I guess that was Saturday night, packed, long lines, just again, a lot of fun. And as Councilman Zuber mentioned, this really is a credit to you, Kelly, and your staff. Have no idea the number of hours that you put into that, but this is kind of your Super Bowl, and you hit it out of the park. And so those who would like to join me, I'd just like to express appreciation. Community really appreciates it. I also want to acknowledge that the three that were winners in the Almond Blossom Queen event, and Briley Perez winning Almond Blossom Queen, Ruth Visser, the runner-up, and Katie Van Unen also recognized. So, and just a really wonderful group of young women, and something our community can be really proud of. And finally, in some ways Kai, I think, expressed it well, but just incredibly grateful that we are at the end of the pandemic, or at least as recognized by those who, quote unquote, follow the science, even though apparently many in Sacramento still don't think we have ended the pandemic and are in an endemic phase. But I'm confident that here in Ripon, we have moved on and are ready to return to normal life, and I'm very grateful for that.
That happens in an election year. And by the way, Gary watches every sport Stanford plays in, so when you say that was their Super Bowl, but they hit it out of the park, I didn't.
Multiple sports references, it's fine.
I like to mix my metaphors. Thank you.
Just asking. And the only thing I don't want to be redundant either, so I'm not going to say anything. But what I do want to say is that, again, April 2nd, 8 o'clock, We meet here at the police department for Ripon First Responder Appreciation Day, and have no idea how many people we'll have, and Sheriff Withrow will be our guest speaker, and so hopefully everybody can come and say thank you to our first responders.
We'll be there.
Anything else?
Great job, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Nice job.
Yes.
Anything? Anything? No, that's it? Okay, meeting adjourned. Not a record, but it's good.